Now for this one, I thought what we'll do is we're going to use the pine cone dies. So you can see from this one here how you can start to layer them up to create a pine cone. However, what we're also going to do is use the same dies to create a flower. So you'll see from the actual die set just here, you're getting 6 in total. And this all enables you to create and build these really cute pine cones, whether they're small or whether they're large. However, what we're going to do is we're going to use it to create a flower. So I'm just going to take the second largest die, and we'll also take maybe the second smallest one. So we're just going to use the 2 to create the flower. So I'm just going to bring in some of this bright yellow foam. Now this is our heat activated foam, and I'm going to just die cut a couple of layers. So I'm just going to cut this down just to a bit of size so that we can run these through our actual mini. So we're going to pop these ones through and into the folder. So we're just going to do the 2 layers. Now it will die cut multiple layers, but we're just going to do the 2 for now. So if I turn that around just so that you can see that as it's coming out, die cuts beautifully. And what you'll also see is if we then pull that apart, it's also going to have absolutely perfectly cut the actual foam twice. You've got no frayed edges, nothing at all. It's a nice clean cut. So that's those 2. And then what we're also going to do is we're just going to bring in these 2 smaller ones, and we're just going to separate them. So I've got 2 smaller ones just like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in just a bit of our Chinese red. This is our quick dry, and I'm just going to add a bit of colour to the centre. Now you can use the actual blending tool, or what you can do is just using the foam. I'm just using it on its own, and all that I'm just doing is I'm just dabbing just a bit of colour within the middle. Nothing precise, that's all that I'm doing, just like that. So we'll just do a couple more, and then I'm just going to dab that one on. And then what I'm going to do is once I've dabbed on a few bits, I'm then just going to just re-ink up, and then I'm just going to kind of just do a bit of a swift movement, just like that one. So we're just pulling it, just so you've got tiny frayed lines just within the actual flower. So there we go, that's all that I'm doing, nothing more to it. So then what I can start to do is moving them ones out of the way. I'm then just going to bring in our foam mat, and I'm also going to bring in my craft iron. Could be a home iron, but I've got it in between high temperature and medium temperature. And I'm just bringing in my ball tools as well. So for the larger flower, I'm going to be using the largest ball tool end just here. And then for the smaller petal, what we'll do is we'll come right down to we'll go down to the second smallest one, and we'll use that one as well. So I'm just going to pop them ones to the side. So then what I'm just going to do is just have sure I've got everything ready and at the side of me. I'm going to bring in my first flower, and then all that I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to pop it onto my heat, and then I'm just going to then just move it onto our actual foam mat. Now you can of course use tweezers and that if you want, but I'm just going to just unfold the actual petal, and then I'm just going to hold even just in my hand. You don't have to, you can just have the foam mat just laid flat, but I am just going to just pop it in just like that. Then all that I'm just going to do is I'm just going to just come along, and then just, you can see how the petals curve inwards, but then I'm just going to turn it over the back. And then what I'm just going to do, so if I do it that way, and then we're just going to start to just pull the petals back on itself. So I'm holding down at the base, so we can see that there, holding at the base, and I'm just starting to pull the actual petals back. So we're just gradually, just with our thumbs, pulling them back. So if we keep going and going, and then that bit of ink that we've added within the centre, what you'll see as well, it just nicely blends in. And then what I'm also just going to do is I'm just going to just do just a wee bit of a turn all the way around, just nothing too detailed. I'm just turning it around once, and that's all that I'm doing, and leaving it just like that one. So you can see it just like so. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the next one. So just like we have been doing, I'm just going to add that just onto the heat, just for it to start to curl. And then what I'm going to do is just moving it onto our foam mat, and we're just starting to actually add that bit of shape to it. Now with the heat tools, what happens is they'll be manufactured and made so that they actually retain that heat that wee bit longer. So it enables you to start to do a wee bit more shapeage after it comes off the heat. So again, just holding just down at the base, just so they don't tear the petal, we're just going to work our way around. If you do tear a petal or tear a petal off, don't worry about it. You can actually just still use it just by adding your hot glue later on. When it comes to create your project, you can just pop it just into the back so it's tucked out. Same with if you actually create a tear within the petal, leave it. It can look really quite organic in that way. You know, not all leaves or petals or any foliage is perfect in nature. So we're just going to just done it that way, turn it slightly, and then you can see by doing it that way, you start to get kind of like the wee bits of veins, so to say, within the actual petal. So there's these two done. So I'm just going to then just go over onto my second smallest ball tool end, and I'm just doing exactly like I just done before. So I'm just popping that one on, and then we're just going to pop that one within the middle, and we're just going to shape it. Now, keeping in mind, the actual dies that I'm using are intended to create the actual pine cone, but we are using it for this time to create a flower. So we're just adding that shape within the middle, turning it back on itself, and we're just adding that shape. So we're just turning it around just like so. Now I'm using the foam, but you could be using your cardstock, your pattern paper if you want. The dies will cut your different mediums, so it doesn't just have to be with the foam. So then there we go, just again, just a quick turn all the way around, and then we'll do the last one onto this one. So we're just going to just add that heat on just to hold it down, and then we're just going to pop that within our foam mat. So we're just turning it, and then we can just bring it back on itself just to add that shape. So we're just pulling. Now we're just pulling it all the way around. Now you could have left it at this part. You don't have to give it a slight turn like I have been doing. So you can just leave it that effect there. But I do sometimes like just to add that wee bit of detail just by turning and pinching like that one. And then that gives us that wee bit more rustic effect just there. So we can move them ones out the way. And then what I've also done beforehand is I've taken some of the autumn leaves. So this is the die set. So this is the different sort of autumn leaves that you get. So you've got the leaves, you've got the foliage that you can see just there. So what I've just done, just to show you, is I've already die cut this one just within the middle, just there. So I've die cut that one just to show you how I'm going to shape it, because I've got loads of these already just cut and shaped. So we've gone and used some of the different colours that you can see just there, and I've not done anything specific when it comes to shaping them. What I'm going to do with this one is exactly the same as what I've done with all of them. So let's just set them to the top just there, and then let's just bring in our iron again. So then all that I'm doing is I'm just going to my largest ball tool once again, and I'm just adding the actual leaf on. So as that starts to go, we're just starting to just curl that. And then all that I'm just doing is I'm just running it back and forwards. That's all that I'm doing. If you wanted to, you can do what we've just done before, add a wee bit of extra shape just by lightly pulling it with our thumbs. But that's all that I'm doing with that one. And that's exactly what I've done with all these different shaped ones, nothing different. So now we can move them out the way, and then we can start to do the next fun part, which is starting to build and create. So I've taken some of the stamens. So I've taken 7 in total, and then all that I've just done is I've just wrapped a bit of craft wire, or it could be floristry wire, really thin, maybe as well jewellery wire. So really, really thin, and I've just wrapped that round so it's doubled on itself, so that gives us even more of the stamens. So bringing in our flowers now. So I'm just going to bring in our foam mat once again, so then we can start to just layer within the middle. So if we bring in our pokey tool, and we're just creating just a hole within the middle so that we can start to feed the stamens through. So I'm just going to do 1 and then 2, and I'm just offsetting them each time. And then we're going to then go into the 2 next ones. Now I'm just using 4 in total. You can do as many or as little as you like. It's entirely up to yourself. So you can see the shape that we're starting to get just there. Then what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to hold it just kind of like at the base with my fingers, and then I'm just going to feed the actual stamens through. So as if we feed this one through, just getting that point of the actual wire, and then we're just going to run that one through. So as that one comes out the other side, we're just going to pull that one out, and then what's going to happen is our actual stamens are going to pop through all the way through, and then that gives us now the ability to actually glue where we want. So you can glue in behind each petal if you want, or what I just like to do is just get my stamens into place, and then I'm even just going to just have a wee play just with the petals, just to create a bit more of a natural look. And then when I'm happy with my stamens, let's pull them in just a wee bit more. Once I'm happy with that, all that I'm just going to do is just add a bit of hot glue just to the actual base. So I'm just going to hold it in that way, and we're just going to add all these bits in. So then that then starts to create and form the flower that you can see there. Keep in mind, this is using the pine cone die, but we're starting to create that flower. So what I'm just doing is setting that one to the side just for a moment, just for the glue to dry. And then what I'm going to do is let's bring in a card blank, and we're going to actually create a card for this one. So I've just taken some Centura Pearl, and I've just gone round the edges with some seal brown and just some orange cardstock that I've got there. So let's just do a bit of matting and layering, just so we can start to layer this one up. So within the card, the actual focal point is going to be the flowers that you have just created. So let's pop them ones on, and then we can then just work our way around. So whether it's the orange card, but then we've also brought in the craft card and the full colours also from the actual flower form and foam flowers that we've done will complement just beautifully. So if we take that one in, so that's us good to go. I'm also taking one of our nesting dies, and then what I'm just going to do is let's just add a bit of our tacky glue. So I'm just going to add that all the way around. If you've got your dotted tape runner, you could be using that one, but we're just going to add that one on into the middle, just there. So we're just going to press that into place. Then what I've also got is I've also taken some of the red berries that we've got just here, and then I've also taken some of the word dies which I've got here, which says Hello Autumn. So let's just press them ones down, and then what we can do is start to then just build up our card. So if I take the flower that we've done, and then what I've also got is I've taken some other ones that I've done just beforehand. So a couple the same size that we created, and some a lot smaller, using the same technique that I just showed you a moment ago, as well as a few of the pine cones using the same die. So if we then start to just layer these ones up, so I'm using my hot glue for this one, and then all that I'm just going to do is just chop off these end parts. So if I just chop that one off, and then we're just starting to position that. So I'm going to start with this main one. So if we pop that down into the bottom left, so we're just going to just hold that into place for a moment. Then we can start to take these next ones. So again, just snipping off these excess. So the main flowers, I'm using hot glue, just adding it onto the back. And then what I'm just going to do afterwards, when it comes to the foliage, we're just going to be using some of our Collal glue gel. So we've got a few of the larger ones, and then a few of the smaller ones, and we're just tucking them in. So we're just going to have it so that it's kind of framing the bottom left hand side just down here. So if we take these next ones, just trimming off the excess of the actual stamens, and we're just going to pop them ones in just like that. So there is the kind of base focal of the flower where your eye is pulled in just into the main design. Then what we're going to do is let's take a couple of these ones. So these are the pine cones which have been created the same way. However, what we've just done is we've just used the real small die, and that can then come to that top corner just into there. And then what we'll do is hold that a second, and then let's take this next one. We're going to do exactly the same, adding our glue just to the base, and that can then go into there. So again, can you see how we're starting to just create that curvature? So it's just starting to frame it on the bottom left. And then what we can start to do is just bringing in all of our foliage leaves. Now these ones, I do always use my glue gel for this one because it gives more maneuverability, and you don't need to worry about it drying so quick. So then what we can just do is I'm just going to add the glue gel to the back, just using the pokey tool as a helping aid. I'm just going to just tuck it in. And as you can see here, see how this part here just overlaps on itself. Leave it like that. It's so natural, and it's the sort of thing that you see out in nature all year round when it comes to foliage. However, more natural in the autumn time. So I'm then just going to pop these ones in each time, just using my poke tool as a bit of an aid. So we're just going to add these ones to there, and then I'm just going to keep popping them in. So we're just tucking them in, then we're bringing some of the other colours. Each time we're overlapping. For instance, I'm going to pop that red on top of the orange. So we're just going to add that look of rustic organicness, if that is even a word, but we'll go for that one. Tucking them in, then we're going to bring in some of the green as well. So if we then just poke them ones out, and then we're just popping them in. So if we just add them ones on, so I'm going to tuck this one into there. Each time I'm just going to poke in using the poke tool. We'll add another one just up into here. So if I pull that one on, and then we'll add a bit of green just down in this bottom. We'll use this leaf just here, and I'm just going to pop that one into place over the orange one. And that's all that I'm doing with the leaves. I'm not going to pop that one on. We can set that one to the side. Then we get to bring in the berries. So with the berries, again, let's just trim a wee bit excess off. Berries we're going to have, so it's actually very much in your eye line when it comes to the flower. So it's going to be within the middle. So let's just bring in a few of the other ones. Now you can be using your hot glue, but as I say, I do like to just use the glue gel for this part. And then I'm just going to tuck a few, one there. And then we're also just going to just bring in another one just into there, just like so. And then what I'm going to do is let's bring in the word hello. Get rid of any of these glue strands. So if we get rid of them ones, and then what you can do is if you find you've got a wee bit extra glue strands from your hot glue, just bring in your hot heat tool, and then you can just give it a bit of a waft over the top, and then what will happen is that will then dry any of these strands. So let's just pop hello, and then let's just bring in autumn. So we're just adding, again, just a bit of the glue. If you've got your sprays, you can use that, or your double-sided sheets, but we're just going to pop that one on there, and then there. Let's just line that one up. Because I'm using the tacky glue, it will dry clear, so you won't see any of that excess in the back. And then what I've also just done is I've just taken some of the ribbon, and I've also added a bit of twine as well. And I'm just going to take just a piece of the glue gel. I'm going to pop it just into the corner, and that's all that I'm just going to do with that one. We're just then going to show you how that creates a really nice card. It's the focal point of the card. Pop it into a box, maybe, decorate the box at the same time. But then that's one idea. So if I set that one to the side, then here's like another idea for you. So this is building up the layers. We're creating an aperture card so you can see within, but that same flower die that you can see just there, we're actually creating that height and that dimension as well. So there's just a couple of ideas that you can then be creating with the pinecone die.